Now he couples up with Iris to break this cycle, and they're like, okay, whatever. Then Andrina comes in, and he's like really into her, and that's a problem. So Jeremiah was never going to win with that group of guys, like point blank, period. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Morgan's Pop Talks, breaking down the latest in reality TV and pop culture. We feel good, don't we? We all got a little sun-kissed glow to us on June 26th. I just feel so much better when I have a little healthy glow to me. The world is my oyster when it looks like I haven't just came out of the womb. That's how I feel. I'm feeling confident. I'm feeling fresh as a daisy. My allergies are not gone, but they are going away. So I don't know if that means the shots are working or if it's just, the seasonal whatever. I will tell you, I'm trying to get my energy back up because 5 seconds before I started recording this podcast today, my husband David comes in and he gives me quite the blow. We have a major life update to announce. We're going to talk about it on next week's episode of Seriously, which happens on Tuesday. I'm sorry, I can't share it with you right now. I need to share it with him. And he just came in and he told me something that really irked me. And it doesn't ruin our announcement. It really doesn't ruin anything except for I'm going to have more responsibility while he's like jet setting around the world because he can't sit still for 5 seconds. And he has a work retreat what feels like every other week. I'm like, I really love working for myself, but I also would like to go to Spain with my company every now and then. So I know I'm being very vague, very cryptic, but I'm just telling you my mood was a little ruined before I pushed play. But I'm here with you, girlies. I need to focus in. I'm here with you now. We're going to talk about the craziest stuff ever. And if you're watching on YouTube, I have my setup finally, I think, to my liking. I'm liking what I'm seeing. We have a little bit more of a cinematic background today. So I will focus on those positives. And there you have your top of the show rant. Let's get into the drama, the chaos, the Casa Amor, and everything in between. Of course, we start with the pop 3. These are the 3 biggest headlines in reality TV and pop culture of the week that you need to know to talk to your friends about. Justin Baldoni missed his deadline to refile his case against Blake Lively. This is really surprising. You've been following along, New York Times came out with a piece against Justin Baldoni. Blake filed like a civil complaint. Then she filed a lawsuit. Then Justin filed a lawsuit towards the New York Times and Blake Lively. So they were like at war with each other. Well, a couple weeks ago, I want to say like 1 or 2 weeks ago, a judge dismissed Justin Baldoni's lawsuit against the New York Times and Blake Lively. I've already covered that in an episode of MPT. Not going to go down that rabbit hole today, but in case you want to know more, just look at the old episodes. You'll see it. I'm sure Blake Lively is in the title of the episode. However, the judge said there were, I think, 7 claims in this lawsuit. You can amend 4 of them, tweak them, change them, refile them, and then it will be, easier to navigate or whatever. Well, that deadline was earlier this week and nothing was refiled. So subsequently, the lawsuit against Blake Lively from Justin Baldoni is like totally up in the air at this point. So his lawyer, Brian Friedman, says they're exploring other legal options, okay? So his attorney, Brian Friedman, told TMZ they're still pushing forward with discovery. So that's info they've collected so far, both on Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively's side for this trial that is supposed to happen next March. From Blake Lively's standpoint, right? Like they're going forward with that lawsuit, the original lawsuit. But he says, we are confident we'll come out on top despite what he called factually baseless accusations. Of course, Blake Lively's team, you know what they're going to say. Total victory. Your lawsuit was frivolous. We are having a day out here. So Brian Friedman also told People magazine that the judge's decision doesn't change the facts and insisted they're still fully committed to defending Justin Baldoni. So I don't know what Brian Friedman means when he says we're pursuing other legal options. What other legal options? Are you going to file a completely new lawsuit? I cannot see that happening. I mean, especially if you're this far into it and like you want to kick up all the dirt again. I'm really surprised. I mean, a lawyer of the stature of Brian Friedman, who is pretty famous, right, and has represented some pretty major people, doesn't miss deadlines. So I don't think it was an accident. I'm just wondering if they're going to pivot their sole focus on maintaining and proving Justin's innocence in the lawsuit against him. And that's going to be their primary focal point. They don't want to deal with all this other noise. Like I said, they're supposed to go to trial next March. Here, I don't know how to feel about this, if I'm being completely honest with you. And it really doesn't have anything to do with Justin Baldoni as much as it has to do with Brian Friedman, because I did say this in the episode where I talk about, the judge's decision to make them refile, saying, this civil complaint that was filed by Blake Lively protects her legally. The New York Times was just doing the reporting based on that civil. It's not a lawsuit. I keep wanting to say lawsuit. Civil complaints. And I'm just like, isn't this something that a lawyer should know? Like, wouldn't Brian Friedman look at that and know that that is how the judge is going to react unless it's a bit unprecedented? And same thing, I feel kind of like Brian Friedman has talked the talk and I believed him. Like, remember, I'm going to sue her into smithereens. And we were all like, whoa. But I don't know if he's walked the walk. And so that makes me nervous for what's to come for Justin Baldoni. I don't know. Is Justin Baldoni happy with his legal representation? It feels like it's starting to fall apart. That side, right? We still have this whole other side where Blake Lively has to prove all of her allegations, and we really haven't seen any proof yet. So it just feels like a mess, doesn't it? And I feel like what's going to happen is the closer we get to this trial date, I feel like Blake Lively will eventually end up dropping her lawsuit, and what we'll have is two ruined reputations. That's just the way the cookie crumbles, or might. Let's move on to headline number 2. Tom Sandoval was on America's Got Talent this past week with his band, Tom Sandoval and the Most Extras. So they've been teasing this for a couple weeks, not like 2 weeks now, right? And on last week's episode, it ended with Tom saying, I was once the most hated man in America. I want the world to see me as a musician. And if you're a Vanderpump Rules fan, you're like, we have seen you as a musician. Hey, let's touch in public, which I'm not going to say that it's a banger, but it is a banger. Like, Touch in Public is a banger. There's no way denying that. So we've seen him as a musician for years, right? So my prediction was, because it played out this week, and I'm going to tell you how it played out on the show, but my prediction was that they were going to like Tom Sandoval and the Most Extras because they're fun, energetic, they make you smile, what have you. Which, from the outside looking in, if you've never been to a Tom Sandoval and the Most Extras show, you might be like, what? I did go for research purposes. I was doing market research. I was going to see, what it was all about and report back to you because that's my job. I had a blast. I'm sorry. I had so much fun. They have saxophone players. Their other singer, Maddie, is incredible. She was on The Voice. They have trumpets. They have bongos. I'm sorry, I had a good time. So I feel like, sometimes on America's Got Talent, it's not necessarily about who can sing the best. It's about who can make the crowd erupt, right? And that's kind of what happened. So Mel B said, you made me smile, you gave me happy vibes, and apart from that song being one of my favorite songs, you all look like you are fully enjoying yourselves. Howie Mandel said, Tom, you're a showman. Sofia Vergara said, you guys look amazing up there. You guys brought us joy. Now Simon, the harsher critic, said, for me, the vocals weren't great, Tom. I'm going to be honest with you. However, not everyone comes on this show to get a record deal. Sometimes it's about being true to who you are. I'm going to say yes. So there you have it. I mean, Simon pretty much hit the nail on the head, in my opinion. The vocals aren't great, but they are fun. I'm sorry, don't cover me. Anyways, I'm not entirely convinced that this isn't just like a publicity stunt, that this isn't all fake, especially when you consider how many NBC shows Tom Sandoval has been a part of in the past 2 years. Of course, Vanderpump Rules falls under the NBC umbrella, Traitors, House of Villains, now America's Got Talent. I also feel like, we learned from the Traitors that whenever Tom Sandoval, for right now, right? This might like fizzle out, but for right now, whenever Tom Sandoval is on a show, people are inclined to watch it. I don't know. I don't know what it is. He's getting like a second wind of reality TV now that the OG Vanderpump Rules is no longer. Okay, let's move on. Last but certainly not least, we have the Secret Lives of Mormon Wives reunion trailer. I would call it more of a teaser because it was only about 25 seconds long, so there wasn't a whole lot. But we do know everybody is there besides Demi and her husband, Brett, including Dad Talk. We have Dakota, we have Zach Affleck, we have Jesse's husband, Jordan, which there's been a lot of talk about what's going on with Jordan and Jesse. They're trying to kind of blend two shows, Vanderpump Villa and Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. There's a lot of overlap and drama there where Marciano, what's his name? Marciano was like flirting with Demi at Vanderpump Villa, and now it's coming out that maybe he was having an affair with Jesse. So Nick Viall asked point blank, did you have sex with Marciano? So we'll get a yes or no answer. My guess is that she's going to say no. We see Taylor saying, I hurt someone I genuinely care about. Dakota, he's crying. Demi, seemingly a no-show. And Jen says she knew I was going to confront her about Italy. I have receipts. But then we see Demi in the slow-mo kind of making it seem like she might show up to the reunion. I think they're tricking us. This is just my prediction. It looks like she's wearing like a denim jumpsuit, and that's not really giving reunion to me. It sounds silly, but like if I'm going to my first ever reunion of this major reality TV show, I'm not going to wear like a denim jumpsuit from Revolve. I'm going to get a dress and dress appropriately. So I don't know, unless she just really doesn't care. But I'll be interested to see like how they justify that little moment from the trailer, if she's even there at all. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I think the rollout to the Secret Lives of Mormon Wives reunion has been pretty bad. Way too much time between season 2 and the reunion. It's been like over a month. I talked about this a little bit this week on the page too, and I think maybe I talked about it last week on the podcast, how I just don't feel like that show, we don't do it justice by binging it in 7 days. I wish they would do the rollout a little bit more like a Love is Blind or even a Love Island. I just don't feel like we talk about it for long enough. So we watched the show for a week, waited 2 months, and now we have a reunion, and there's been all of these podcast interviews. It just feels like all over the place. And based on Demi's reason for not going, I kind of feel like it definitely was all over the place. She said, they couldn't lock in a date at the last second. They locked in a date, but I was going to be at Disneyland with my family. And it's like, did they just slap this reunion together? And they were like, Nick, you're in LA. Everyone's been on your podcast, so come host this reunion and let's see where the chips fall. Like, kind of what it feels like to me. And I've lost interest a little bit, like, will I still watch it? Yes, of course, but it's not as top of mind as when the season is available and we're all watching it for the first time. And haven't they said that they basically have already filmed season 3? So like, how are they going to differentiate and talk about season 2 without blowing their next season? I don't know. I have a lot of questions about that. I'm interested to see how it will play out. And that is what I think about that. Let's move on to the deep dive. Oh my gosh, you guys. Is Love Island just like totally taking us out. I saw somebody say I'm too employed for Love Island USA, and like I'm self-employed, but I still feel that way. But it's joyous, right? We count it all as joy that we get appointment television every single night. Although I will say Love Island USA tested me this week, tested my patience with the show, tested my will to live, tested my tongue on social media. Yes, we'll get to it. But I think episode 18 ruined us all. Ruined us all. We start the episode with 2 new bombshells in the villa. Andrina, you have to say it like Nick. I'm like too white to say it properly, but he's always like Andrina, you know, and I want to try. And TJ. So Andrina is, see, that lasted long, immediately interested in Jeremiah. And that's all you really need to know about the episode. We didn't know that a elimination was right around the corner, but I will say I knew something was off with the episode, and there was a little bit of foreshadowing. Whenever Jeremiah pulled Andrina for a chat, the boys were sitting around the fire pit. Jeremiah kisses her in front of everyone, and the next scene is Ace huffing and puffing. And Nick actually instigated it too, which I was very surprised by this. So I wrote down the conversation. Taylor says, what do you think about that situation? Nick says, that dude is head over heels for her, I feel like. Pepe says that's the kind of person he is. And then Ace says, how I feel about it is his type came through the door. He's exiting off everybody who's near him, zooming in on one person and repeating a cycle. May or may not be true, right? Like, we don't know. Jeremiah and Andrina had really only known each other for like one day. So we don't know if it would have been a Huda 2.0, if it would have been a little bit of a love bombing situation, if he would have been locked off. However, Ace is really one to talk in the situation. Because have we seen him be interested in anyone except Shelly? I mean, yes, he talked to Iris. He had like one chat with Iris, and then he was locked in. And people are also making the comparison of Taylor. Now, this was before Casa, Amor, and the new girls coming in. Everyone's like, Taylor, I mean, we have not seen sparks fly between Taylor and anyone. Like, you can't convince me that Taylor and Alandria really like each other. They seem strictly platonic. Taylor hasn't been interested in any other person. But at the same time, everything that Jeremiah did was a problem to Ace. If he was exploring his relationship with Huda, that was a problem. According to Nick, if he wasn't consoling Huda after they broke up, after, you know, somebody was done from the island, that's a problem. Now he couples up with Iris to break this cycle, and they're like, okay, whatever. Then Andrina comes in, and he's like really into her, and that's a problem. So Jeremiah was never going to win with that group of guys, like point blank, period. But we get to the end of the episode, and it's America's votes. Who did you guys vote for your favorites? Obviously, it was Nick and Alandria, right? Right? Like, we're all level-headed here. People are really confused about how Huda was not in the bottom 3. I think there's a couple different theories. One being that there is a group of people out there who want to see Huda have a redemption arc, you know, thinks Jeremiah is the villain and it brought out a bad side in Huda, which like could be true. I mean, I don't know. There is another theory that it was a production interference, you know, because like how? But the bottom 3 girls are Hannah, Iris, and Amaya. Everyone online is saying that Amaya should have gone home. That wasn't my initial reaction. I thought it should have been Iris. I have a soft spot for Amaya. I think there's an argument to make for both of them, but I don't necessarily see like how Amaya would have been first pick over Iris. Like, to me, they're pretty neck and neck. I know Amaya has been in the villa longer, and, you know, sparks haven't been flying for her, but she's really trying, right? She's really trying. So you guys, Amaya Papaya, I don't know when I fell in love with her, but I did. But Hannah, okay? Hannah gets voted out. Genuinely don't understand it. at all. They didn't show any of the girls' conversation when making the decision, which I thought was very interesting, because they're not pressed for time. They can make the episodes however long they want. Like, they've been an hour and 28 minutes, they've been an hour. So show us some, conversations that were had between those four girls of why they voted out Hannah. They didn't do it, which makes me skeptical. I almost feel like the Islanders are playing Survivor and not Love Island, voting people off that they think could potentially get to the end and win the money. But at the same time, ruining the concept of the show by eliminating people who have strong connections and are doing Love Island right. So, which I don't know why I have just this feeling that like Ace and Shelley are behind it. Probably because of all the online chatter, which I'll get to in a second, but I just wanted to say that. Hannah and Pepe, they were like the most locked in couple, would have made Casa Amor more interesting, but now everyone is single, which is, probably why they changed this whole format of how Casa Amor was going to look. But like I said, the Jeremiah decision was pure jealousy and haterade. Pure jealousy and haterade. Austin has had more fun cleaning the pool than trying to get to know any of the people in the villa. Like, there has been absolutely zero romantic interest, it seems, between Austin and anybody. There would have been no love lost. Like, there would have been no blood on anybody's hands. Jeremiah was strategic. Are the boys jealous that the new Bombshells always flock to Jeremiah? The second choice, he could be a threat to win at the end. C, they think he's a love bomber and they want to get him out because of that. D, all the above. I think the answer is D, all the above. Now, if the producers send Jeremiah back in, which we've said that about a couple different people, send Bella back in, send Charlie back in. I think Jeremiah would be the right person to send back in. And I think if he does somehow get back into that villa, I think he wins no matter what. No one is impressed with the other connections that are going on right now in this moment. Everybody is pretty much single. And Ace and Shelley, they're probably the most locked in couple, but it does still feel off to me. And it's probably because my brain has been flooded with the online conspiracy theories that they knew each other before going on Love Island. But that aside, it does just still feel off. I can't necessarily put my finger on it. And Shelley, unfortunately, is collateral damage of people really not liking Ace. Like I said, Taylor and Alandria doesn't look like they have any romantic chemistry whatsoever. And people are so mad at Ace for probably spearheading the vote against Jeremiah. I even said it. If Ace gets to the end, like, sorry, not getting my vote. For right now. Could that change? Maybe. Could Nick and Sierra win it? I mean, I don't know. Their relationship kind of seems up in the air right now, too. Will Jeremiah come back and take it to the house? Wouldn't that be? Talk about a plot twist. That would be a plot twist. So, Huda's goodbye to Jeremiah, I also thought was interesting to watch. I feel like she was playing it cool after the breakup with Jeremiah, because you don't go from 100 to like 0 like that, like she did. And she even said, like, for whatever reason, I thought at the end it would still be me and you. I thought we were going to, end this together. I could go down that rabbit hole. I'm not going to today because we still have lots more to discuss. So that brings us to Casa Amor. Ariana announces that Casa Amor is totally different this year, that they all will couple up right away. All the couples will come back to the villa eventually, but there's one odd man out, and that odd man out Islander could potentially be dumped from the villa. I'd really love to know if this was the game plan from day one, or if they realized nobody really likes each other that much, so we have no choice but to start completely over. I mean, I even said earlier this week, it doesn't feel like Casa Amor. It feels like we are starting from the very beginning of the show, starting from scratch, because no one is even close to falling in love with each other based on the couples that we still have. And I'm just wondering how it's going to impact the rest of the show. How is the lack of strong connections going to impact Casa Amor? How is it going to impact movie night? Like, the stakes just don't really feel that high because we don't have a lot of couples, or any couples for that matter, that are invested and locked in. Dare I say, I miss Kayla and Aaron. Dare I say? I said it. What are you going to do about it? Don't worry. We'll talk about Kayla and Aaron in a hot second. Okay. So like I said, we get the Casa Amor twist. They all recouple in this last episode that aired on Tuesday. But whoever's single will be vulnerable and dumped from the villa. The Casa Amor vote was pretty straightforward. Everyone stayed with their partner except Zach, and he chose Amaya. Now it's a double-edged sword because I'm happy for Amaya, sad for Alandria. I think it was strategy on Zach's part because, even if Alandria isn't closed off, sometimes I don't want to say she is uninterested. She just comes off as uninterested because I think it takes a long time for her to get attached to people. And then you have Amaya who's like, ready to go. And if you're looking at it from a strategic standpoint, if you're a guy coming in at Casa Amor, what is your ticket into the villa? Your ticket is to choose a girl who is desperate. Like, no offense, but she is. She was. She had 24 hours to find a connection. If she didn't, she was going to be dumped from the island. So I feel like it made sense for him to choose her. But that leaves Alandria single, and we're getting through this episode thinking that she's about to go home. And I'm like, I just voted for her as my favorite woman on the show, and she's about to go home. I'm like, there's absolutely no way. I was thinking to myself in that moment, if they go through with this and send Alandria home, and I hadn't even known that Nick was also on the chopping block, they will lose so much of their audience. Because it's like, at that point, what are you even watching for? You're only invested in a handful of people. Like, let's be serious. But Alandria certainly was one of them. So I was sitting there fuming. I was saying to myself, if Nick goes, I'm done. The villa vote was a little more complex. A lot more people switched. So Vanna left Ace for TJ. Coco left Taylor for Ace. And then Clark leaves Nick for Taylor. Jaden stays with Austin, and that leaves Nick single. Sidebar, are Jaden and Austin the same people in different bodies? Did anybody else have that thought, or was it just me? Because, wow, even the way that they speak, I'm like, are you guys related to each other? Like, you might want to get a 23andMe before you decide to couple up, because I don't know what's going on there. The genes are too close to each other for you guys to be romantically interested in one another. But anyways, I was like, Nick and Alandria just got voted off my two favorites. I quit. I'm not watching the show anymore. I hate watching the show instead of enjoying it. But I was thinking production cannot be that stupid, because I know I was not the only person to vote for Nick and Alandria as our favorites. I'm like, people will riot. Like, there will be riots in the street if Nick and Alandria go right off the heels of Jeremiah and Hannah going. Like, we as a Love Island community would not be able to take it. Thankfully, there's a twist. We see Nick come out at the end, and he goes to the car, and there's Alandria, and she's like, get in. What do we think the twist is going to be? I don't know. I think probably they'll just stay gone for a couple days, then they'll come back in, and then their original connections will have to decide, who they want to go with. And I think that the original couples will come back. I think it will be Alandria and Taylor, and I think it will be Nick and Sierra. Before we wrap up the deep dive, I do also just want to point out the message that they posted during the Love Island episode. They also posted it on social media, talking about, how thankful that they are that people are invested in the show. But please don't bully or harass people on the show. I'm just here to co-sign that. You guys, I know more than anybody that it is very easy to get swept up and, say mean things about people. But at the end of the day, they're human beings. So please just be nice. If they weren't on television making a bunch of mistakes, we would not be this entertained. So just treat people how you would like to be treated. I mean, I know that my MPT girlies would never be mean. So There you have it. Crazy times in Love Island USA. For final thoughts, we're staying on that train because we got a sneak peek this week of Beyond the Villa. That is the Love Island USA spinoff from season 6 that has all of our favorites back together on a screen again. We have the PPG, we have Kayla and Liv, we have Kendall, we have all the boys besides Cordell, Rob, and was there another boy? I'm not sure. But Cordell was in the sneak peek, so I think he just wasn't available to be a main cast member. But we will see him. I've heard similar things about Rob. But there was a 5-minute teaser posted on Peacock. All of the eyes in this moment were on Kayla. It seems like, sorry, I keep hiccuping and I'm trying not to make it glaringly obvious. But all eyes are on Kayla for multiple reasons. One, apparently she's fighting with Liv. And 2, she hasn't seen Aaron. I mean, the most just dumpster fire of a relationship we've ever seen played out on Love Island USA, right? Aaron, we can all hear it in our head, in our sleep, in our nightmares. So she's seeing Aaron again for the first time. Oh, this is interesting. Also, with the Liv stuff, I don't know what their beef is about, but I do already have an inclination that it's made up beef. We'll see. I'm not going to judge it right away. But it's awkward. Kayla doesn't know if she can go talk to Aaron. She's I don't know, this is awkward. Should I go say something? And she's you know what? I'm just going to do it. The girls encouraged her to go talk to him. And she's hey, what's up? Whatever. He's I haven't drank in 6 months. I've been sober, but I need a drink right now. And we're that's probably not a good sign. But Kayla is look, do you want to talk? Do you want to come over to my place? And then she does have some sort of feelings about it still because she's my heart is heavy over the situation. Now, I don't know if that means that she's in love with him still. But, it's not as easy sometimes with exes to cut them off cold turkey and have no lingering residual feelings a year after. I remember when I was dating, it used to take me a long time to get over heartbreak. So if Kayla's in that boat, I'm not going to judge her. But she's dating somebody else based on her Instagram story. So I really don't think that there is any world of possibilities that Kayla gets back together with Aaron. Otherwise, in this little teaser, Janae has beef with Connor. Leah doesn't really get it. She's you need to move on. Janae, you and Connor dated for 5 seconds on Love Island. You and Kenny have been together for a year. Let's leave the past the past. The PPG is just dancing around in the DJ booth. That was pretty much it. Like I said, it was all about Kayla and Aaron. We'll see it on July 13th, full episode. I wasn't blown away by the sneak peek, and they seemingly put one of the most dramatic moments in there, right, to pique our interest, to gauge our interest. I'm curious to see how the season 6 cast will adjust to shooting a more housewives type reality show. I mean that in the sense that it's not surveillance. Summer House, Love Island, they're being filmed 24/7. They have hidden cameras everywhere. Yes, they still have standing men camera crews, but I feel you're able to let your walls down a little bit more when a lot of the content comes from surveillance cameras. You're not so aware of the cameras 24/7. And I don't know, there might not be that element in this Beyond the Villa spinoff. And to me, just based on that little 5-second preview, I feel they were very aware of the cameras. 2 different vibes. It's 2 different style of reality show. Too early to be definitive. I mean, it was only 5 minutes and 28 seconds. So of course I'm going to watch it. Of course I'm going to report back. But that is just a thought I have, maybe a concern that I have if I'm going to make it deep into the series and really enjoy it. But there does seem to be a lot of interesting things that are going to play out on it. Kendall and Nicole, I'm really looking forward to that conversation because that blew up in flames as well. So like I said, we can watch it together on July 13th and report back. Other than that, that's it. Please leave a review if you have not done so yet. A little 5-star boop boop, a little love you like a sis because I do. Make sure you're subscribed so you never miss an episode. If you want more Bachelor news, if you want more Bravo news, you got to subscribe to the Patreon, patreon.com/Morgan's Pop Talks. We talked about Tia Gar and her come on now hats this week on the Bachelor tier. I mean, iconic. $37, so not going to buy it, but still iconic. And Grant like spilled some tea on his breakup with Juliana. So I got you covered. If you want that, that is where you find it. If you want some giggles, come listen to David and I on our new podcast, The Seriously Show. If not, I'll see you back next week. And as always, I love you like a sis.